vibrant, it's very nice, it's very engaging. So I'm glad that I could be here, and thanks for the invitation.
Of course. So we're just going to ask you a series of questions and love your insights on them. So the first is, what does a democratized human rights framework look like for you in practice?
So a democratized human rights framework, from the disciplinary position that I'm coming from, will have problematization of human rights framework itself from the subjective position of the global south. And the concern that we have is that there is an epistemic advantage that the global south has, which is it can see it from outside, and it can also see the problems that are there, and in seeing that problem it could also contribute in making it far more rich. So as of now, the human rights framework is informed from liberal tradition, and it has disproportionate focus on the individuals, although later on a little bit of adding up and stirring approach has also been done in the sense of looking at communitarian aspects of it. But what Global South could sort of contribute in reimagination of the human rights framework is to make it more participatory from the subjective position of the Global South, and the advantages, epistemic advantages that it has, which basically means that the idea of redistribution, the idea of positive and negative aspects of human rights as well, all of that has to be sort of a contribution that has to go over there. And we have a lot of diverse thought tradition that could sort of add to it. You already have relational understanding relational philosophies like Ubuntu from South Africa. We have other traditions, say for instance from India you would have Tagore, who has contributed in looking at rooted cosmopolitanism. Currently I'm also working on Kashmiri saint poet from Bhakti tradition, a woman poet from the medieval ages called Laldet, whose non-dualistic philosophy and talking about the care and looking at the idea of peace is something that could really inform the discussion. So as we move around in the non-Western world, there are lots of ideas that could enrich, and in that sense democratization for me from my disciplinary position would mean diversifying it, making it more participatory, and opening up and looking at the possibility of several universals. And that's something that the conference has sort of also brought in the first day. I don't know how it's going to go for the next day, but you have these ideas already being floated in the discussions, so that could be a great start.
Absolutely, and I agree with you on participatory democracy. Building on that, how can digital tools amplify democratic inclusions without undermining human rights protections? When we think about privacy, security, misinformation.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question, and my area of work also directly engages with that. Although I look mostly, narrowly on artificial intelligence, but digital tools or any technology for that matter is not neutral, and that is an accepted fact. It's situated, it is located in society. So the goods and bads of the society are going to be part of it. And the thing about AI is, if you have garbage in, you'll have garbage out.
Yeah.
And if you have virtue ethics in, you will have virtue ethics out. So in that sense, it's very interesting that we look at technology in different kinds, more specific artificial intelligence. This has both positive and negative roles to play, and one has to be informed of both of these things. Spending some time on the positive aspects of reinforcing democratization and making it much more, participatory. We have lots of digital movements that we have seen: Black Lives Matter, Me Too movement in academia, #HimToo, which places the burden more on the perpetrator than on the survivors' bodies. Those kinds of movements, and also from Africa, South Africa, the must-fallism. Now, what is interesting about must-fallism is that unlike other movements where you have a norm localization, so the norms are created in the global norm and it is expected to trickle down.
Yeah.
And only a norm that is being constructed in the global north would be considered as something that has universal value. whereas knobs that are coming from the global south are considered only good for locals. So you would have here mustfallism as a movement that went from South Africa. So you had Rhodes must fall, then Fee must fall, and other things, and then it went to other parts of the world, in other parts of Africa, but also Europe as well. So you have a lot of possibilities with digital tool that could also challenge notions of power, and also reimagine our societies in a much more egalitarian way. And these are, activisms that have been positive, but you also have regime change that has taken place. So just now in South Asia, in Nepal, you had Gen Z movement, which basically led to a regime change, and it was through utilization of digital technology that was done. But on the other side of it, one of the things that we have also presented in our work is that you also have algorithmic harms. You could have algorithmic discrimination, you could have biases that are played out, you could have weaponization threat, and all of that has to be really taken up very seriously. So the solution then is going to be more proactive education, algorithmic education to people, so that they know what is the process, they know pros and cons, they stand educated, and in that sense that could be empowering for people themselves, and that could also lead to real democratization, so to say, in that manner. That would be my sort of brief submission to
That's amazing. Thank you so much for your participation. It's a pleasure.